The federal government launched a report card to coincide with International Women's Day, highlighting many of the ways Australia is falling short in addressing the gender pay gap. It put a particular focus on the difference in superannuation as the government prepares to make sweeping changes to the system. Joining us live is Deanne Stewart, the CEO of one of Australia's largest superannuation funds, Aware Super. Deanne, really appreciate your time. Thank you. Firstly, just explain for us how we are tracking when it comes to that gender pay gap. Is it slowly improving, or does the data show that things are starting to stall when it comes to improvements each year?
Hi, Ashley. Great to join you. And certainly from a data perspective, the Workplace for Gender Equality Agency tracks this. And what it's really showing, certainly over the last few years, is that the gender pay gap is barely moving. Today, it's currently at 13.3%, which means women being in the exact same role as their male counterparts are effectively being paid 13.3% less than their male counterparts, which clearly has a huge impact on their livelihood and a multiplier impact on their retirement and their superannuation savings, because that is based on their wages.
And so the main driver, as I understand, is, the jobs broadly done by women, we're seeing in those sectors are lower paid. So it is really a systemic problem, isn't it? There's no easy silver bullet here.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is no silver bullet. You're completely correct. There are several things at play here. Firstly, it starts, as you said, as many girls come out of high school or out of university into lower paid jobs. So more than 70% of jobs in the caring sector, childcare, nursing, teachers are women, and they are not paid as well as many roles that men go into, whether that be in professional services, technology, a lot of the STEM-based type of roles. So it starts there in roles where they're not getting paid as well. But then secondly, even when they are in the same role, there is a gender pay gap. So they're getting paid that 13.3% less, even when in the same role. And then clearly women then later on in their life take often more time out for caring responsibilities, whether that's looking after their children, looking after elderly parents. They do 70% of the caring responsibilities in society. And then often when they do come back into part-time work and find childcare costs really expensive. And so it's one thing after another that really stacks up. And then from a retirement perspective, all of that, your superannuation is based on your wage over that period of time. And so by the time women get to retirement, they're retiring on more than 30% less than their male counterparts. So that has a huge bearing on their dignity in retirement.
And so what are some of the options on the table here, Deanne, in terms of actually narrowing that pay gap when it comes to the retirement age, where, as you just alluded to there, the gap really does widen by that point?
Look, there's a number of things that I think that we really need to look at. First of all, it does start to how do we actually encourage more young girls to get based in more STEM-based, and how do we encourage, quite frankly, more males into caring type of roles, that there's more equality on both sides. So it starts there. But then secondly, certainly in the workplace, and the government has put forward a bill around this, how do we have more transparency as to the gender pay gaps in the workplace? We believe that all companies should publish their gender pay gap and then find it and fix it. And so that all of the workforce is aware whether there is a gender pay gap and what actions their employer has taken. So they're two important things. But then as it relates to superannuation and where that starts creeping in, we actually believe that your superannuation guarantee should be being paid on paternity leave. And that starts with the Commonwealth Government paying that on Commonwealth parental leave assistance, but also for employers to pay not just on paid paternity leave, but unpaid paternity leave, because that's where the huge gap starts to increase. And then finally, certainly, particularly for those older women, particularly single women, as we know, which is the largest cohort coming into homelessness, the government really needs to look at things like rental assistance and housing affordability, because that is having huge bearing on the degree of homelessness and the degree of insecurity in women in their elder age.